Every single person that lands on your content, every scroller that is scrolling past your content is subconsciously asking themselves 4 different questions. They don't necessarily know that they're asking these questions. They're not sitting there with like some clipboard going through a checklist. They are asking these questions because it's a natural human thing to do as they're feeling through your content. They're scrolling and they're watching and they're deciding. If they don't get enough yeses to these 4 questions, then they scroll right past you and you become forgettable to them. And we do not want that because we know that you are a genius. We know that you are brilliant. We know that you are gifted, and we know that you need to be seen so that you can do what you are called to do. But this is exactly why someone could post every single day and be extremely consistent. They could know their niche. They could be crystal clear on what they do. They could know that topic inside and out and yet still be invisible on social media. And it's because they haven't taken the time to study the psychology of the people scrolling past their content. Sales psychology would assume someone already has interest in what it is that you are talking about. They already have their wallet out. They just have to decide. Sales psychology would assume that it's a warm lead. So someone like a car salesman needs to understand sales psychology because people are coming to the lot to buy a car. If you are applying sales psychology in your content, you are wasting your time. You are missing the step of scroller psychology. Yes, I made that up. And do I think it is amazingly brilliant? Absolutely. So before anyone has decided that they're interested in what you have, it's your job with your social media content to capture their attention and to capture the attention from the right type of person. And I will tell you right now, the moment that you master scroller psychology, you won't even need to learn how to sell because the attention that you have created is the sale. So with scroller psychology, it's like the right woman, the right person in your audience is already curious. She's already interested. And the offer at that point just gives her somewhere to go. And that's what I want to teach you today. So by the end of this video, my goal is that you understand the 4 questions that your audience is asking themselves as they scroll past your content. And then you're going to walk away knowing exactly what type of content would answer each question with a yes. So this is going to pull you out of the spiral of not knowing what to post to get the right kind of attention. Not knowing why things aren't working for you right now to get visibility, not knowing what good content even means and what it looks like. You will have a framework, you will have a lens, and you will have a reason behind every single thing that you create. Every single post will have a job and will have a role. So let's get into it. So before we move further, I need to educate you on a word that I use a lot. And I not only use this in my short form content, but I use it in my world when I'm teaching my clients. And that word is obsessed. I talk about the goal being to build an obsessed audience. The obsessed audience precedes the cult-like community. And I genuinely believe that an obsessed audience is separated from just a following, from just racking up a number of followers and getting views for the sake of getting views. But I know that I trigger some people when I use the word obsessed with audience because their mind automatically goes to weirdos and creeps and stalkers. And I'm going to tell you right now that I have personal experience with that type of person. I've been in a stalker situation. And so I actually am very protective over that privacy. And I don't want to use the word obsessed carelessly. So I have to describe what I actually mean by that so that you're on the same page. You guys know that I love defining words. So in the context of using the word obsessed, let's talk about my definition for that. Let's break apart the word in the way that I love to do. To be obsessed in the way that I'm referring to is to be deeply curious, persistently interested and curious. So if you have an audience that is obsessed, you have an audience of people who are extremely curious about what you create content on. They want to know what you think next. They want to know how you see it. They want to know your perspective. They want to know your thoughts. They want to know where you're going to take it. And it's not because they're fixated on you and they want to worship you in an unhealthy way. It's because you have cracked something open in them. You have shifted a perspective in them and they want more of that feeling. So the obsession that I teach my clients to build toward, the obsession that I'm talking about in this video, is developing the right kind of audience that is extremely curious with your body of work. Okay, so now that we're on the same page, let's move forward. So I just described what an obsessed audience is, and I know that your next question is, okay, tell me the type of content that I need to post. Like, I don't know what type of content it is that would create that obsessed audience. I know that's your question because that would be my question. Just get to the point, Chandler. So we're gonna get to those 4 types of posts, the 4 questions that you're answering in your posts. But just to conceptualize, if you want an obsessed audience, you want people obsessed and curious with what you're talking about, you have to be obsessed yourself, obsessed with what you ask, your craft, your intellectual property, your proprietary way of seeing the things that you teach and the things that you talk about, the change that you create. And if I were to take that a step further, the women who actually make a name for themselves, like they become famous for their craft, they're not just obsessed with their craft in general, they're obsessed with finding a completely different game to play when it comes to that craft, when it comes to their niche. And what I mean by that is that most people who are playing the same game in the same niche, they're all trying to play an existing game better than their competitors. They're trying to do it slightly better than a version that already exists. So that would be like better tips, better tricks, better strategies than the person next to them talking about the same thing. Okay, but if you want your obsessed audience to turn into a cult-like community, you're not going to try to win at the game that everybody else is playing. You're going to become obsessed with liberating your audience from playing that normal, well-known game entirely. You're gonna show what's possible outside of the strategies and the system that everyone was told to use. You're gonna teach people how to take control over their own thinking, their own path, or their own version of that thing. Rather than just handing them a map that they've been handed time and time again, it just looks slightly different because your name is on it. That is a different kind of obsession, and it absolutely produces a different type of content, and therefore it attracts a different type of audience. When you become obsessed with your craft at that level, and then you have the ability to translate that into your content, it is inevitable that you will build an audience that mirrors that obsession back to you, because that obsession becomes contagious, and then you have the ultimate freedom, because the curious attention that comes from that is the best kind of attention that exists on the internet. Attention is currency. People are going to pay you in their attention before they ever pay you with an asset. And I would say attention precedes money, which is why scroller psychology, getting attention on social media, precedes sales psychology. You've probably heard the phrase, people who pay attention, which is usually said in the context of offers. When someone pays you for their program, they show up like it matters to them. They're invested, they have skin in the game, they're more committed, they want to get the results because they paid. And yes, I would agree that that's true. But if I were to flip it, I would say when people pay attention, they pay, inevitably, full stop. Full send. The attention comes first, the right kind of attention. And that's built on obsession. That way you're not just creating content and hoping that people come, you're creating content to grasp attention from the right person, and it becomes inevitable that they pay you to get into your world. This is the type of people that will literally throw their credit card at you and say, I need in, and you never had to convince them of that. All right, so let's get into scroller psychology, the 4 questions that somebody is asking as they scroll past your content. When I say that every single post you create needs to have a job, this is what I'm talking about. You will stop throwing spaghetti at the wall or trying to guess the type of content that is going to get this attention. You'll stop wondering why some of your content does well and some flops, and you'll instead understand the mechanism behind what your content is actually supposed to be doing. So question number 1 is, do I like you? This is usually like the first gate for people. And it honestly has nothing to do, even though I said, do I like you? It has nothing to do with people agreeing with you or actually liking you in a way where you have to become a people pleaser. You're not going to be liked by everybody. Do I like you means, do I feel something from you when I land on your content? Does something register with me? And this question is going to get answered through your ability to translate your specific, unique personality into your content. This is your come with me energy versus look at me energy. It's very different. There is a version of you that has probably shown up in your social media that has been like, look at me, look at my results, look at what I've done. And then there's a version of you that is extremely intriguing and interesting when you say, come with me, here's where I'm going. And to be a come with me girl is very refreshing. Whereas a look at me girl, you start to get exhausted by that and people don't like it. Your humanity lives in this question of, do I like you? It might come from your warmth. It might come from your conviction. It might come from your clarity or your humor or your edge, your intensity, something that makes somebody on the other end of the screen feel like there is a real person here. So if you're creating content where it feels very curated and calculated and polished and perfected, you're trying to create this persona that you have it all together. People might respect you, but they're not going to feel anything from you. And I'm telling you, if people don't feel anything from you, they will scroll right past you. Do I like you is answered through personality posts. These are the parts that have actually nothing to do with what you do and everything to do with who you are. Question number 2 is, do I trust you? What you need to understand about trust, if you don't understand this already, which I'm sure that you actually do understand this in real life, but even on social media, trust is not built in one video. It's not built in one post. Trust is compounded over time, and you need to be willing to put in the work to gain the trust. Trust is built from consistent deposits. It accumulates and it requires a body of work. That's what they want to trust. They want to trust that you have a body of work. And the body of work is basically there to demonstrate that you've been talking about this for a while, you've been super consistent, and you're demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. You have lived this. And in order for that to be the case, you have to know that the content that you create to answer this question has to come from what you've actually lived. It has to be honest. And then you can demonstrate that and you can articulate that. So it's not going to come from just information that you've read or things that you have been taught, like a listicle or step-by-steps. It's the things that you inherently know because you've been through them. And I will tell you right now, this is where your role as a teacher matters more than your role as an expert. The best teachers are the anti-gatekeepers. They give you the thing that's going to benefit you. They don't hold back on the knowledge to make you dependent on them. They hand you the key to the door. And that generosity actually builds trust faster than anything else that you can do. So do I trust you is actually built through your body of work, which is your perspective, your earned wisdom through lived experience. And then you translate that into your content and you give without ever trying to take. Some would say that that also achieves the law of reciprocity. You can look that up. Question number 3 is, do I aspire to be like you? I would say this one surprises people the most when I teach them this because we usually think of aspiration as someone wanting the results that you have. So you think to yourself, I could create an aspirational post when I talk about how good I have it or the results that I have. Whether that's the money that you've made, the weight that you've lost, the relationship that you've built, depending on your niche. And I'm not talking about any of that when it comes to aspiration. That is extremely superficial and super surface level. The question of aspiration is actually a soul to soul thing. It's not, do I want her results? It's, do I want to be like her? The way she thinks, the way she carries herself, the standards that she holds, the way that she speaks about hard things or happy things, the way that she sets limits and boundaries, the way that she shows up even when it's inconvenient for her. So someone is consuming your content and subconsciously they're thinking to themselves, I want to move through my life like that. And again, that aspirational content actually has nothing to do with your accomplishments, your titles, or your accolades. It is character content, values content, the things that you believe, the way that you handle things, your womanhood. And that's good news for you because it means that you don't actually have to have the results yet to get a yes from this question. You have to be willing to live out loud in a way that someone else would want to learn from the way that you're living. So do I aspire to be like you is a post that would require you to translate your character, the life that you are building in real time off of social media. And last but not least, question number 4. Can you actually help me? Can you change me? Can you transform me? Can you serve me? Which is an expertise question. And if you are an expert and you want people to hire you for your expertise, you need to master this one. This is the one that gets people off the fence. And this goes beyond you just posting results of yourself or of your clients. You need to post results and then you need to be able to clearly and specifically articulate how you can help someone get those results. But I will say, if she doesn't like you, if she doesn't trust you, if she doesn't aspire to be like you, then the expertise question almost doesn't matter. She'll go find someone else who can check those boxes for her. But the expertise question is basically you becoming a diagnostician in your craft. You are able to articulate the problems, the symptoms of the problems better than the person with the problem could ever articulate it. You put words to something that she's been feeling that she hasn't been able to put words to herself. You are able to describe the exact experiences, the frustration, the confusion, the gap between who she is and who she wants to be. And she feels so completely seen by your expertise, your diagnostician ways, that she thinks to herself, this woman is in my head. How does she know what I'm thinking and feeling? Oh, she must be able to help me if she knows that much about me. And not only are you able to articulate these things, but you also are able to show proof of the transformation itself. Not just that it's been achieved, but that you understand the path to getting there. You know what's in the way, you can see around the corners, and the person watching this post doesn't know those things yet. So this has nothing to do with your credentials. It actually is a way of you creating content that makes people feel like I need her help. So can you actually help me is answered through diagnostic content. Very specific problem articulation and evidence that you understand the transformation like the back of your hand. So obviously I spend a lot of my my time studying content. Maybe I've even studied yours and you don't even know it. And that's the reason why I know these things, because I am completely obsessed with my craft. I study it all the time. And I will say that most of the profiles that I study, they're answering maybe one of these questions in their content. Like I would say a lot of women teach in their content. They demonstrate their expertise. That's the first thing that they go to when they want to build this business from social media. So they'll give their tips, they might share their frameworks, and then they wonder why they're not getting hired left and right from their content alone. And it's because they don't know how to build the obsessed audience. And they wonder, because they're so consistent, why isn't their follower count or their visibility matching the effort that they put in? And it might be because they're answering question 4 about the expertise, but questions 1, 2, and 3 are getting completely ignored. And someone in your audience needs the answer of yes to every single of those 4 questions before they're locked in. You don't need to answer all 4 in a single video. The hope is that you are able to answer one of the 4 and then they come and they binge your profile where they get all the answers to the other questions. That is attention, curious attention. Moving forward, every single post that you create should be intentionally answering one of those 4 questions. This is what I call the core 4 of scroller psychology. So I would say that the reason that you still feel like social media's best kept secret, even though you know that you are brilliant, you are a genius, you are meant to be seen, because you're damn good at what you do. It's not because of your specific content strategy or your content frequency. It has nothing to do with your hooks. It's not the platform or the algorithm hating you. It's that you've been creating content without understanding the psychology of the person scrolling past you. You've been creating posts, but you haven't been answering questions. Scroller psychology is the game underneath the game, baby. It's the reason why some of these brilliant women can post with minimal production, the least of the effort, and still build communities that buy everything from them. And it's the reason why some other women are trying to create really polished, well-edited, super fancy content, and they still hear crickets. The game is how many yeses you are generating in the people who are consuming your content. Do I like you? Do I trust you? Do I aspire to be like you? And can you actually help me? When you can answer those 4 questions consistently, you will build the obsessed audience over time. And like I said, the obsessed audience turns into the cult-like community. You could sell them your hair tie and they would want to buy it. They will open every single email that you send to them. They will literally wake up in the morning and search your name on social media so they can see what you've posted recently. That's what we're doing here. That is what we are building. If you want to go deeper on the core 4, and you want to know exactly how to answer these 4 questions in your specific craft, that's what I walk you through inside of the Evolution Content Membership. I'll put the link below in the description, and I will see you in the next video.